Well, one of the biggest misconceptions I see is that they think I am the deal maker or the deal breaker. And that
Mm,
puts me in a very awkward situation. A buyer will say, "Hey, you tell me every single thing that's wrong with the home." The seller will tell me, "Don't tell him what's going on here." And I am loyal to the person who's hiring me. I tell them the truth. The fact is that if I make for example, I inspect a home for a seller to make him aware of what's wrong and what has to be fixed, he has to know that the buyer will have another home inspector of his own and will try to protect too. So the whole thing is about honesty. So, no, I don't make deals or break deals. I don't advise. I just find the problems and I make people aware of them. So when they buy their house and they don't have to change the air conditioning or change the roof or there's a leak, they know what they're getting into. That's the whole point.
Hello and welcome to the Smart Business Owner Podcast with your host Schubert. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is Schubert with the Smart Business Owner Podcast, and today we have a special guest. We have Carlos. Carlos is his home inspector here in town in Palm Beach County. And Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Carlos, we never have a home inspector in the show before. So, a lot of folks want to know who you are and how you can help them. But before we do that, why don't you take us back as far as how the whole thing got started? Where did you grow up? How did you end up starting your own home inspection business, and how things been going so far?
Well, thank you. I'm really home inspector, honestly, by accident. I have a background in electronics engineering back from Venezuela. And when I
Okay.
moved here to the US about 8 years ago, we purchased a car wash with a couple of partners and myself. And the business was doing quite good until one of those big hedge funds decided to buy us out. I call it more
Mm.
like a hostile takeover because they put us out of business with very little effort. That is when I knew that that was going to happen. I became a mobile notary because that's a job that does not require licensing. It only requires a certification.
Right.
And while being a mobile notary, I got an email talking about something called home inspection. I liked the idea and I started to study a lot, trying to get my license. I got my national exam approved. Afterwards, I got the Florida license, and now I'm trying to move everything toward that. So that's how my home inspection journey started, by a email that I catch by mistake.
Wow, it's interesting. A lot of times you hear things like that happen where something just fell on somebody's lap, and the next thing you know, it becomes a calling for them. So it sounds like that was
Yep,
the case for you.
it was exactly the case for me.
Now, being an entrepreneur, you mentioned that you purchased a car wash before you started the home inspection business. Uh, Being an entrepreneur, I mean, seems like that's something that runs in your blood. Can you talk about that? I mean, your first business, how did you get started in your first business, and how has the journey been for you when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Well, it was a little bit like an obligation. Again, I was mentioning I lived in Venezuela and things were getting pretty rough there, dangerous there. So my brother was already in the business and he said, "Hey, let's do this together." And I said, "Look, whatever you say, it's a yes." So it's sort of an obligated entrepreneurship. And it was really fascinating. It was really fascinating until things started to come a little bit difficult. You see, when you have a place where you are between three other businesses, the same category and the same avenue, it's okay, it's handleable, there are enough people. But when then in the car wash business, all of these little places started to pop one after the other. Now there are about nine.
Wow.
So somehow I am glad that this guy did a hostile takeover. And Yes, I had to study new skills and learn a whole bunch of new things, and that makes it exciting.
Reinvent yourself.
A little bit afraid of the change. It's not comfortable to stop doing what you have been doing for the last 30 years and starting new. But either way, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's something that's in human nature. We all resist change and the fear of the unknown because you know what you know for the last 30 years. However, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10. So that's always uh, a little bit fearful for most people.
Well, I believe there's an expression: "Try to be comfortable being uncomfortable." And yes, I had to
That's a
try
great
to get used to
expression.
it. It's somebody is a genius out there.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to home inspection, uh, you helping people in a time where they're making probably the biggest investment in their life for some people. Not everybody, but most people, buying a home is the biggest investment. How's the journey been so far? In helping people in these very important moments.
You know, um, it feels great to be able to help somebody. It feels great to be able to warn somebody, hey, you didn't see this little detail. Take it into consideration. The guy who's selling did not tell you this, or the buyer did not tell you that. So I feel good when I protect somebody. And that's what this whole home inspection thing is about, trying to get, in this case, the buyer to make an educated decision on his own.
Yeah, because it's kind of like buying a car. Sometimes you have to take it to a mechanic and make sure that what you buy it's what it is, instead of buying one thing and turns out to be something totally different.
That's
Now,
true.
there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to home inspection. Can you
True.
debunk a little bit some of those myths people have about home inspection and what's your approach to tackle those challenges that are in that field?
Well, one of the biggest misconceptions I see is that they think I am the deal maker or the deal breaker. And that
Mm.
puts me in a very awkward situation. A buyer will say, hey, you tell me every single thing that's wrong with the home. The seller will tell me, don't tell him what's going on here. And I am loyal to the person who's hiring me. I tell them the truth. The fact is that if I make for example, I inspect a home for a seller to make him aware of what's wrong and what has to be fixed, he has to know that the buyer will have another home inspector of his own and will try to protect too. So the whole thing is about honesty. So, no, I don't make deals or break deals. I don't advise. I just find the problems and I make people aware of them. So when they buy their house and they don't have to change the air conditioning or change the roof or there's a leak, they know what they're getting into. That's the whole point.
Now, when it comes to home inspection in particular, which is what we're talking about here, a lot of people don't really know exactly why they need to do that because they're thinking, okay, well, we have a house, we looked at it, it looks good. Can you explain to us, to our audience, why it's important to have a home inspection and what's your approach to it?
Well, yes, pretty simple. Again, the home is like a car and it has to be inspected. It has not a lot of moving parts. It has a lot of things that have to work together in order to make the house a comfortable place to live. So the first approach of finding problems is the home inspector. The home inspector does a non-invasive inspection or checking of the systems of the house, and he's the first one to pinpoint something that might not be right. In this case, I would check the house and then tell the guy, hey, you need an air conditioning specialist. Because I won't go deep into the air conditioning. I will tell, hey, this machine looks good or ready to work. It could work for a couple of years, or this has to be, this seems to be in a bad shape, and most likely in less than a year you have to change it. Are you ready to change it? Are you
Right.
ready to negotiate with your seller that, hey, you have a problem here? So that's the kind of thing I do, like the first approach to finding basic problems, and then I will refer them to specialists when needed.
So you've seen a lot of homes, and speaking of finding a lot of problems or challenges, can you share with us, some of the examples, some of the cases that stands out when it comes to those inspections you did and turns out to save a ton of money either for the buyer or the seller?
Well, look at this. Usually, the most expensive part of the house, is the roof. And the roof is a whole system that's related to the house in different ways. Just to give you an idea, the roof is not just there to protect you against rain, it needs isolation. The attic, which people neglect, really have to be isolated from the house itself. Sometimes it's not. Then it has to be properly ventilated, because if not, then it will get really hot and the air conditioning has to work really hard. So, all these little things I put together to make sure that the most important system of the house is in good shape, or warn them that, hey, maybe not. You want to save a little bit of an electrical bill, get yourself a guy to put more isolation in your attic. Hey, the guy that put the insulation covered the holes that are supposed to vent inside the attic. So that's a bad practice. Sometimes getting into an attic and doing jobs there is very, very uncomfortable. So most companies will not do it 100% right. And I have to warn people about that.
So that's interesting because I had somebody that is a home builder recently on the show, and she talked about they found some extension cord inside of a wall where it's not supposed to be. I think that was fascinating. So, what about sellers? For example, somebody decide to sell a home. What are some of the things that they can do proactively to prepare the home to be able to pass inspection? And what are some of the problems you see come up the most?
Well, the most important thing for the seller is to make them aware of what's going on in that house, because most likely the buyer will get a home inspector of his own. So it would be my job related to a seller to tell him, hey, this could be a problem when you try to sell. This could be a thing that the buyer will, push to lower the price. And my job is to let the seller know what's going on. Exactly as I would do it with the buyer, I would do it with the seller to tell him what's going on. Again, I don't make a decision. I don't advise. I just tell him what's right and what's wrong.
Now, I mean, is there anything in particular that you think they should do other than
Yeah,
making sure that, there's no hazard in the house? Anything in particular? Any updates?
that's exactly what is in the report in those different categories I mentioned. Just to let them know, hey, this, you better fix it because the other home inspector will find it too. So that will save the seller a lot of time and effort and arguments and discussion. He will get it repaired. Probably it doesn't take too much effort to get it repaired, but the buyer will make a whole issue about it. So we'd rather avoid it. So I have to help the seller, get the house in a good condition so he can sell comfortably with no delay.
So let's break it down a little bit further. For example, when you're doing a home inspection, walk us through the process. For example, from start to finish.
Okay, look, the first thing I do is fly a drone on top of the house because owners don't like people walking on their roofs. I mean, it's natural. Sometimes you can damage the roof by certain roofs by just walking on it. Not all of them, obviously. So I get a good view of what's going on there, and I get an idea what I could be finding inside. For example, if I see ponds, water ponds close to the skylight, then I know that I could be suspicious that I would find something inside, a leak or something like that. My
Right.
second step is I walk all around the house looking for thermal anomalies, a beautiful, big, complicated word for something that could lead me to possible leaks. Because that's really what the big problems are about. And once I already walked around the whole house and understand what I'm waiting for, is when I go to the detailed inspection of every single system in every room. Let's say how the air conditioning works in every room, or how the electrical outlets, if they are in good position and if they are powered up and if they're in good shape and they're safe, and if the windows open and close properly and sealed properly, things like that, just to make sure that when he's living inside and he doesn't have, when he buys the place and he doesn't have to spend more money getting things fixed. Even a simple lock on a door is good enough to make you spend $300 replacing it and the guy to do it. If I find it earlier, maybe the seller will fix it before. So that's the kind of thing I do.
Now, you said there's always two inspectors involved in any kind of home selling. Is that correct?
No, no. Generally, the buyer
Generally, okay.
is the one who wants the inspector. And when you're, I believe you have a mortgage rate or there's a lender involved, he wants the house to be inspected too, just to make sure it's in good shape and they are protected.
Now, sometimes we will see that somebody is buying a home, they already set on the price, and the insurance people, the homeowners insurance people, they want something specific on that report, and that will, determine whether or not if the rate's gonna be higher or if the rate's gonna be lower. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, that's a little bit different from the home inspection. We home inspectors do something called the 4-point inspection and the wind mitigation, and we are the eyes of the insurance to let them know the condition of the house. So the 4-point is talking about, let's see if I remember, the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, and I forgot the other one. Sorry about that. So we check that these systems are in a good shape, that the roof has a useful life of at least 5 years, and the air conditioning is in good shape, and the water heater, very critical, the water heater, because if a water heater breaks, there are leaks, there's explosions, and they want to avoid that kind of thing. So I am the eyes of the insurance to tell them, hey, the house is in good condition to be insured. Wind mitigation is a little bit of a different story. Insurance wants to know how the house is built to support the hurricane. So if the windows, it just takes one broken window for pressure to build inside the house and maybe even damage the roof. So the winds outside due to the hurricane, plus the pressure put by a broken window, can rip off that roof. That has been seen and that's learned in the big hurricanes that happened.
Yeah, in
So,
Florida.
mhm. So what we try to do is tell the insurance, hey, the way the house is built is safe. All the windows, not most of the windows, all the windows are hurricane proof. All the doors are. The garage door is hurricane proof. Your house is really safe. That will lead to the insurance to lower the rates because it's a reduced risk. That is the relation. And in the case of the 4-point inspection, if I find something that's not right, the insurance will say, hey, tell the guy to repair it and then re-inspect it and let me know when it's satisfactory.
So for someone listening, if they wanna, let's just say, for example, they already bought a house, and the last inspector didn't do a good job, and the home insurance is through the roof. Can they call you or any home inspector, have them re-inspect the house, and then we submit that to the insurance company? Will the insurance company revise the rates down?
Well, that's not exactly the way it works. The home inspector will give a report on the present condition of the house when he visits. And that condition can change the next day. I mean, you can see a water heater that suddenly starts a leak and damages the house. When I was
Okay.
there, it was good. The next day, something went wrong. You can't blame anybody really for that. Now, from the point of view of the insurance it's usually the insurance who will call the home inspector to review the condition of the house. They are the ones who will really request this. Let's make a difference. The buyer usually requests a home inspection,
Right.
and the insurance is the one who requests these two reports called the 4-point and the wind mitigation, but
Right.
upon their request to give the proper insurance.
So No, to follow up on the questions, can the buyer order an inspection and we submit that and ask the insurance company to lower the rates or not?
The thing is that there are two different stories. One is I don't know how to recall a difference. The insurance reports are very specifically designed for insurance, and it's a different thing. The home inspection is the one that will check all the system of the house. It has a different goal, a different purpose. But yes, they can do it.
You can do that. Okay.
For
That's very
example, when
important.
let's make it a little bit easier. Let's say that you have your house, they changed all the windows. Then the owner would have invested a whole bunch of money to change all the windows for hurricane proof. Then he will
Right.
call me and say, "Hey, update this report or write a new report with this updated information so I can submit it to
Right.
insurance so they can lower my rates." From that
Right.
point of view, yes. But again, it usually happens the other way around.
Gotcha. Now, there's a lot of home inspectors. How do you differentiate yourself from all the other home inspectors out there?
It's like a tough question. I try to do the best I can. I try to get the reports done the next day because that's what they expect from me. I just try to get it done right. That's the best I can say.
Gotcha. Now, what would you say it's something that it's critical for first-time home buyer to make sure that they understand and they look for on a report when they order a report from for a home inspector?
Well, for one thing, they have to trust the home inspector.
Trust is a big factor.
And
It has
that's
to have some sort of relationship with the. What if they don't have that relationship? What if their realtor just recommend that home inspector? How do they have that trust?
well, that's a little bit delicate. I mean, in the standard of practice of the realtors, they are not allowed really to recommend one. They recommend a couple of them and leave that to the buyer to choose which one he decides to hire.
Gotcha.
And if I were a buyer and I see a very cheap home inspector who will inspect the house in 20 minutes, I would have my doubts. And if the guy takes us 4 hours to inspect the house and gives a very clear report of all the details with a lot of pictures, then you see that the inspector is serious.
How long does it usually take for a thorough home inspection? Is it 4 hours?
Between 2 and 4 hours, yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that are taken into account. For example, if I see that the electrical system has problems, then I will have to pinpoint every single problem in the house to get it repaired. If the electrical system is okay, then I just take a couple of samples of things that are just to make sure that they are right. So it really depends on the house itself, how old
Gotcha.
the house is and how big the house is. That makes the biggest difference.
I'm assuming that older houses probably take a little bit longer to get through.
That's
Is
right.
that correct? Now, have you seen any kind of evolvement? Because everything is evolved over time. When it comes to home inspection, what would you say things that are different than they used to be 5, 10 years ago? Are you guys using AI, all those good stuff in home inspection?
I don't think AI is really good for a home inspection. AI would be really nice to make nice reports, but it really depends on the inspector having the proper technology and the proper tools to um, pinpoint finding potential problems and using the proper tools to um, diagnose properly things that are wrong. So, no, AI is, I don't think AI has that purpose.
So
I
that's
think
good.
it's the capacity of the inspector to use the available tools, use them properly.
So that's good. That's good to know because a lot of people are worried about that AI is going to take their jobs. So that's good to know that home inspectors are safe from robot taking over. Uh, w- we're gonna say something.
No, I was thinking of how an AI will get into an attic. This doesn't add up.
Well, they do have their limitations, that's for sure. Uh, Right. So let's just do a few rapid fire questions. What would you say one thing that you have learned from a mentor that have helped shape your career uh, to be who you are today?
Well, I have a mentor who I trust, and what he said is just be consistent with what you do. I'm trying to be very consistent with my marketing. I understand the only way you can get people to know you and to trust you is not go once, twice, a whole bunch of times, showing them that you're available for them. And whenever they ask why you are good, you can tell them. But it's not something that you do just playing a couple of videos or just visiting once and saying hello, grabbing a business card and sending them an email. You have to build that trust. And that's what my mentor taught me.
It's awesome. If you could go back at the beginning of your career, is there anything you would change?
I think my career has been very interesting. As a lot of things happened, and each one was exciting and fun on its own. So you learn things of each thing you do, and you apply it next on your next job. When I was in the car wash business, I never did anything like networking because all the people came to the car wash. Now I'm completely the opposite. It has to be networking because if not, I will not get anywhere. So it's a good learning, to understand the difference and why you do networking, how you market, what people believe, why they trusted me there, and why they will trust me now.
That's very good. That's very good. Now let's talk about networking for a minute. I met you at PRE. We both member of the PRE network, which is a referral group. Uh, how long you been part of the group, and has that been a good thing that you have joined them?
Well, as soon as I left the car wash business is when I discovered or I noticed that I didn't know anybody outside the car wash business. So somebody told me about networking. I went to the chamber, and in the chamber, the guys from PRE recruited me. And since then, and the best things ever have happened. The group gave me the opportunities for my first inspections. The group gave me the opportunity to show them the kind of marketing I'm doing and what I'm doing wrong. So it was been a lot of things I learned from them, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, I didn't know how important it was, so it was awesome.
Wow. I mean, I had other members of the group here, and I think your testimonial is the testimony is the one of the best one that I've heard so far when it comes to PRE. And you guys we meet in Jupiter, correct?
That's right. We meet
So
in Sorry, carry on.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say where we meet, but you can tell them where we meet.
Yeah, 100%, 100% in the Bear Fresh Cafe in Jupiter, correct?
And a breakfast for everybody, and we have a good time there.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Maybe let me tell you, the beautiful thing is that like the group is growing all the time. You as a person who goes consistently is always exposed to new people who come in. And that's very interesting too, because the group itself brings outsiders. So
Yeah, I
it's a
mean,
valuable tool.
what I can say, since I've been attending the group, every day it's more people coming in,
Mhm.
different faces, and
Right.
I have no complaints about the group at all. I think it's a great way to meet people, especially if you're new to a community, which I'm not new, but we all know if you want to grow your business, you always need to meet new folks, especially with what I do working in wealth management. So it's not easy to meet new people. So you have to be out there and putting them to your face and in order for you to grow a business. So and I think the PRE referral network, I think it's a great group, fantastic group. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I think you were very thorough with your questions, and Yes, if you really want to get somewhere, you have to be consistent with your marketing and belong to a couple of groups where you're always exposed to new people. That's the only way to boost your business.
Very good, man. Very good. So if somebody want to get a hold of you, Carlos, how can they do that?
Well, I have a website. It's homeinspecting.com. POM means peace of mind, which is the name of the company. Let's see, like this. POM homeinspecting.com. Once you go into the website, there is a newsletter that will pop up that's called the Home Inspector Gallery of Horrors, where I share a whole bunch of pictures of things I find during my inspections, and I deliver a very short and clear explanation what is going on for people to understand that their houses require maintenance, and the things get bad in their houses, and make them aware of it. And if you like what I do, I'm always available for you guys.
So they
It's
can go on the
W.
website. Do you have like a contact me page on the website where they can send you a message directly?
Yeah, once you're in the website, there's all these contact features. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
So
Any
let's
social
say it again.
media? What about social media?
Well, this is an argument I have with especially my wife, because I think the kind of relations I have to build in this kind of business is more person to person than social media. That's awesome, the social media. However, I get to know and trust people by talking to them face to face. And in this kind of business, I put a little bit more effort on going to places, meeting people, and letting them know that they can trust me.
Very good. Very good.
Now that's uh, sure. Let me tell you, that's the typical answer of somebody who doesn't have a clue how to do social media. So I'm just protecting myself.
Yeah, you gotta
I just
protect
want to
yourself.
smart. I want to sound smart, but I don't have a clue how to put time into social media at this point.
Gotcha. Yeah, social media is changing and evolving so fast. Anyway, Carlos, thank you so much for being here. Hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Carlos. And on your next purchase, making sure that you check out Carlos' website. Carlos, thanks for being here.
Thank you for your time, Schubert. See you next meeting. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Smart Business Owner Podcast. See you in the next episode.